We have a new addition to our pumpkin army this year. It's the 4-foot-tall Embers Groundbreaker from Party City. They released this new this year. It was about a little over $200, and I'm excited to have it in our display this year. As you can see, we have our 12-foot-tall Home Depot pumpkin reaper, and he is guarding the entrance to the display. But this guy is going to be the finale. So as people walk down through the display, we're going to have a pumpkin archway that they'll pass through. They'll go down, experience the party, do the trick-or-treating and all that, but when they come back, we need something to do, a little final goodbye, and that's what this guy's intended to do, right on the other side of the driveway. So let's go ahead and open him up and get him in the display. Inside the box, we have a nice assortment of pieces here, starting with what looks like the head. Look at that creepy face glowing like it is on fire. Now this is blacklight reflective, so at night it should look even spookier. Inside this white box, it looks like we have some instructions and a few metal stakes. Otherwise, it's just a space filler. This heavy plastic molded body, and by heavy, I mean it is pretty weighty. An enormous hand. Another hand. Arm piece. And finally, we have one more arm piece. So let's go ahead and start assembling. Here on the other side of the driveway is where I think we're going to place him a little bit angled down the driveway. So again, when people are coming up, they'll see him. It's a little hard to judge exactly what that angle should be. So let's kind of put him together a little bit before we stake him down. There are a couple of stake holes on either side that's going to help anchor that to the ground. But as we put him together, it looks like it should be pretty easy. Let's go ahead and put the head on first. Now it looks like what you need to do is line up the holes from the molded plastic here, and you're gonna actually put it on a little bit sideways and then twist it into place, and that's what's going to secure it. Next, we're gonna put on the longer arm piece. It also does the twist lock. So let's see if we can get that in here. And then his support hand just presses into place. It doesn't twist and lock. It's taking shape. One arm down, one to go. Now this arm also has one piece that twists into place, but this one just sort of sits on the ground. So it's kind of like popping up out of the ground. Let's go ahead and put this one on. So I do want this pushed back a little bit so he's hidden behind the bush. That way from the street, you're not gonna see it. That's gonna help prevent theft issues, which hopefully we don't have. But also, just as that surprise for the trick-or-treaters, I don't want them to necessarily see this guy as they come in. So this last hand doesn't connect to anything, and I don't see any holes in it to put the stake through. The instructions indicate you're supposed to put the stake through the fingers, but that doesn't make any sense to me. It's still just gonna slide right off. There's nothing that's gonna hold this on. And I'm very disappointed in that. So I think what we're gonna have to do is put the stake in and then maybe use some fishing line to hold it into place. Otherwise, there's nothing that's gonna keep this thing from blowing away. But ultimately, this is how it should look in the end. Of course, we need to see it at night to see how well he glows under blacklight. So let's wait for it to get a little bit darker. I'll try to stake it down the best I can, and then we'll check in a little bit. I will admit, under the blacklight at night, this looks fantastic. As you're coming up the driveway, you can see it from far away. You can see this really bright glowing effect that actually does kind of look like fire, but I'm not super thrilled with having a blacklight out here in the weather. I don't know if they make waterproof blacklights. I will have to look into that, but I'm certainly not going to leave this blacklight out, which means I'm going to have to bring it out, plug it up for Halloween only, and you're not going to get to experience it in those days leading up. I think had they used an internal lighting effect with like maybe a flicker bulb, a flame effect, that would have been much more effective and self-contained, and I would have vastly preferred that. My other disappointment with the prop is the way it is staked down. So it came with 4 stakes. There was supposed to be 2 on the body. I ended up putting 1 on his left side, but on the right-hand side, the angle of the hole through the body didn't allow me to stake it into the ground. So he's not really secured very well. He is kind of heavy, so I'm not worried. We don't have a lot of wind here, but if you are in a very wind-prone area, that could be a problem. So I did use the extra stake to stake down this loose hand, which is another thing I don't like. I don't know why they didn't just connect it to the arm to give it that extra stability, but I am worried about wind taking that away because it's not very heavy at all. And there's no proper way to stake the hands down. If they had put a hole through the center of the hand, you could stake it down easily, but they didn't. They said put the stake in between the fingers, which is, I guess, going to kind of hold it in one direction, but if it blows in the other direction, it's just going to blow away from the stake. It doesn't really hold it down. I don't understand what the thought process was there. I don't like it at all. I ended up using the extra stake that I couldn't put in the body in the other finger, so I have 2 fingers kind of staked down, and I use some fishing line to kind of hold it in place and hold it to the ground. Otherwise, I am very concerned that hand would blow away. The other hand also staked through the fingers, makes no sense, but it's also connected to the body, so I'm not too worried about it blowing away. Overall, I like that they tried something different with this prop. I love that it's blacklight reflective. I love the groundbreaker nature of it. Kind of reminds you of those groundbreaker skeletons, but this of course is the pumpkin, perfect for my pumpkin army. So I do love him regardless of his flaws. Not sure I would totally recommend him though. He just happens to work pretty well in my setting. Let's go ahead and turn off our external light so that you can see what it looks like just with the black light. Keep in mind, the camera plays a little trick on you where it doesn't look quite as realistic in the camera as it does in person. In person, it does look really good. It has this nice subtle glow to it that really does kind of look like fire. Without the external light though, you do lose the shape of the pumpkin, and maybe that is why the external black light is the better option, because it does help you see the entire figure. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Before we go, I did want to say a special thank you to all the patrons who help support the channel. If you're interested in joining my Fright Club, be sure to check out a link to my Patreon page in the description below. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, take care, and happy haunting. Let's go ahead and bring the camera in and take a closer look.